Yes, let's go.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to So Much Game with episode 5 of Worlds Without Nye-mbers, where we delve even deeper into the revolutionary state of Aris, which needs you, as you can see to my left or right, depending on whether the cameras are reversed or not.
No, yeah, it looks good. It's to our left, I'm pretty sure.
There you go. Yeah, so tonight we'll probably be working on building a actual starting region if we were going to run this with players, which we probably are at some point. And then maybe we might get around to talking about potential systems if we have time, and if Nye feels up to it.
I'd be down for that. I have preferences. We'll get into that. I do have preferences, but we'll get into that exactly. Let's. I'm excited to do the starting region.
Yeah,
I'm definitely excited.
And first off, Bubble Reg, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you as always.
It's nice to have you here again. So, to get down to it. Oh, by the way, before we get started, Nye, is there anything you want to say or promote at the moment?
We could do it at the end if you want. I think it's better at the end because sure.
Yeah. I mean, we can double promote you as well.
No, it's okay. Once is enough.
Yeah. So starting region.
It's the worst drug campaign ever. Once is enough.
Once is enough. Don't do it again.
Just once. Don't do it again. It's tempting, but not again, okay?
Hopefully my camera will hold up because I was having a bit of technical issues a minute ago. But it seems to be okay now. Right. Starting region. What are we thinking? Is it gonna be like, are we keeping the analogy with the French Revolution and basically making Paris very important because that's where most things went down? Or a side region, or what do you want to...
hear me out on this. This is my thought process. The capital in most stories is usually quite symbolically important, and in real life obviously it's a very important aspect of any nation, and I think it's a nice goal for players, even if, like, hypothetically we complete that, we were to let someone else play this, right? Someone's like, oh, can I use this world, and they want to start somewhere different than we pick. I think going to the city is a good early first act goal, because you can kind of flesh things out. While starting in the city is very interesting, I think it would be perhaps only good if you had players who knew the world, and that's, for us at least, that's not a lot of people. So that's my logic at least. So I would like to start
that seems
somewhere out. And probably somewhere. I'm probably somewhere rural, because fantasy at whatever tech level works better on a kind of micro to macro scale. There's a reason why every fantasy story starts with they were a farm boy, because it's this is easy because everyone kind of knows what a farm is, so there's not really much to comprehend. Very few people starting this is the elaborate court system that you're going to have to learn quite quickly if you want to follow the story. Oh boy, I'm not. So that's my logic. As for regions, I think I would like to have somewhere by the coast, but to keep the region quite, to have the regions fairly large-ish, like the divisions between Aris. That way a GM can kind of have a starting region that they know a bit about, but they can choose factors that, I don't really want to start by the sea. I want to start in the mountains, or I want to start in the forest. Oh, it's
hello, Diesel Shot.
Yes,
thanks for joining us.
I assume that's Lee.
I'm assuming
I would assume
the same,
so.
but we'll find out.
It's Pat and Lee. Oh yeah, it's Pat. It is Lee. Hi Lee. Yeah, I figured. Yeah. That's Pat's call sign. Oh, we don't have any spiders, do we? We don't really have any. We have big wasps.
I mean, all kinds of like the fact that big wasps were mentioned, and we went, yeah, sure, that could easily fit in here. True. There you go, a plague of giant wasps.
Exactly.
I think spiders could get in there if
it would be very strange for somebody in this world to be like, oh, spiders are just completely impossible. Giant wasps, though, total sense. Giant spiders, that's just ridiculous.
But we digress again.
Exactly.
Which is our most important skill.
It is. Oh Jesus, so important. But yeah, I want the potential players and GMs to have options. So it is a bit like in a video game where the starting area kind of has a mix match of lots of things. So oh god, did we ever do the shape of Aris? Really?
Not really, but
we have the boundaries covered. There's a mountain range which has them next to Danube.
I will scroll up in my sheet, but yes.
Yes. So there's a mountain range next to Danube, or Danube. Sorry, there's no B there. It's just DANU. There is a
I still have to change all the talk of Mert in this document I've made. It's fine. Aris.
Well, you can if it's a Word document, you can just do search and then change. Yeah.
Well, don't worry. I've spent plenty of time in Word documents. So yeah, the divided from Mert by the mountains is Danube, where they
and they have another. They have a
Aris.
border. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, have a sea border with their naughty friends of the sea, Secco.
Secco, yes. Secco are yes, and then there is I'm trying to remember now. It has been a while.
There's that sort of
neutral
muddy
nation.
Neutral place that makes the mud that everyone wants, and darn it, I can't find their name at the moment.
That's okay. What I'm thinking from a
Onya.
Okay, I think that'd be a good place to start then, because all the other borders have contentious. They have contentious world building. Oh well, there we go. I do remember this. So if I'm remembering correctly, there was a deal between Aris and the mud farmers to cede some territory. So that actually would be a good segue for the starting area. Is a newly what's the word I'm looking for? A new I was going to say colony, but it wouldn't be a colony. A new integrated frontier. There we go. Thank you. That's a perfect word. It's a new frontier for Aris, and the players could be settlers maybe, or people that have been the first generation to actually be from there.
It's nice because it also gives you a sort of internal dynamic where the players can be a mix of new settlers from Aris and old people, the people who used to live there from Onya that have decided to stay.
Exactly. And I think it also works well because it's a lot safer if there is any contentious issues. It's because the people living there have contentious issues, not political stuff. And then the players can learn about politics. Okay.
You're also not likely to be immediately washed away in some kind of giant continental war.
Exactly. And as we said, one of the ideas for going for this is the continental war is a slow build up. And, maybe you don't even get to it because you could just completely ignore it. Time is an illusion after all, so you can kind of play around with how long or short the war is to come. And I don't think there's a better place because as I said, we want it to be in Aris. I think that's the best option. Yeah. So
it is feeling very like. I mean, it's next to the sea, new area that they've taken. with a bunch of mud and farmers. Feels very Flanders to me. It's like I'm basically just writing about
it is a little bit, isn't it? Yeah. I think what also works with that is, as we said, Anya is, at least from a, what's what I'm looking for, from a geographical, political sense, Anya was kind of like a catch-all. Like, a lot of people like Anya because of its shade and neutrality. Exactly. So you could also use it as, well, my parents were from this part of the world, but we settled in the new province, but it then got ceded and we decided to stay. Like, I think that's a nice way, because that's always the thing that bugs me with some settings and games where they're like, no, if you want to be that type of person, you need to be from there. And it's like, that, I don't know, that feels a bit strong army. And also it's impractical, because
I think we've also already laid the groundwork that, there's a lot of chance for like actual metropolises and people being from all over the place without it being a rare thing or something that, that's unusual.
I've been watching quite a few documentaries about travel in the Middle Ages. Yes, my social life is amazing. And it's really fascinating how much, because we often think that people didn't travel, like they lived in their farm and then they died in their farm, but no, people would go about the same distance as we do in our lifetimes. It's just obviously
a lot longer.
A lot longer, and your chances of getting there were not great.
I was gone for 100 days.
How did you find the pilgrimage? It was very long. It was raining for most of it, and when we got there, the guy just said, "And you're cleansed," and we walked all the way back. So it was great. Oh, that's nice. You can get like marauded a little bit, just a little bit here and there. You know how it is. A little bit of banditry.
Seems more like when you got to the end, like the guy was like tapping a box, going, "Yeah, definitely seems like something you could be cleansed for."
That does sum up the medieval church, doesn't it?
Do you have any fish on you? I mean, forgiveness is available to all.
Of course, to all who can pay. Now, I think naming would be in order then, because a name is always a good place to start. So I'm trying to think. We want this place to think. So I'm thinking the Arisians have given this a new name, but I think it would be nice to also kind of give a wink to Anya. So we get into the fun fact.
I don't want to like sidetrack us again, but are we going with Arisians?
Oh, do you not like Arisians? Is that too on the nose?
I'm fine with it, but like it is a bit on the nose. It's like, we just dropped the P in Paris. It's Paris and you're Parisians.
Yeah, but
you're
then
Aris and you're Arisians.
I don't know. But the other problem is it's really hard to like turn it into. I guess the place could be called Aris, but it's kind of like the Netherlands and in Dutch. It's like the name of the country is not the same as the people that live there. So we could also do that. So it's like this is Aris, but everyone is called. I really should stop trying to come up with names on the spot, because we ended up with Mert and Aris.
We should definitely start like forcing chat to help us.
Well, I also think that
how invested are you in this world, chap? Feel free to come up with names.
I'm going.
Oh no, our viewers are dropping. No. But for the moment, it doesn't really matter. But the name for the region,
I actually am okay, because what I do with these is I look up fantasy name generators, but I usually cut half of the letters out, because I often find that I think I've made this point clear many times. I'm going to make it again. If you're wanting to do fantasy words or like any fiction words, if they're going to be not words that we find in any language, at least make them comfortable to say. because it is always, unless you're purposely going out of your way to make words that are difficult to say, because then you get into situations where it's like, oh yes, I'm now having to say 8 syllables for this one word kind of thing. What about Drews? Dreus? Drews? Or Derus?
U-E-S-S. Drews. Sounds very Scottish.
It does. Again, this just I looked up Drews. Are you from Drews, mate? Oh, I am from Drews.
Yeah,
I like it as well.
No.
Strangely Scottish. Yeah. Okay, so that's the name. Do we want to do? Are we going to do like topography and stuff like that, or is that?
Well, I think we will like maybe create an idea of what it looks like, broad lines. And
do we have any tables to roll on?
Okay. Let's see. So
what I don't know is that this stream is an intervention for my tables. Nah, you gotta stop. You can't roll. No, I must roll on more tables.
Yeah, there's this stream will never be an intervention for tables because no, you can never take our tables.
That was the worst part with Traveller, was me going, there's more tables to roll on. No, that you've
got to love a table.
It's fun. It's fun rolling on tables.
Let's see.
And for once, I'm just going to look at the stream.
I'm hoping I haven't I'm hoping I just haven't like randomly run straight past the local tags. It's got to be. So I suppose like major cities, rural towns and stuff will be rolling on in a minute, but where are the terrain ones? I think I've gone too far.
Well, if it is like, oh geez, we're rolling another table, we could just use it based on what we talked about Anya and go from there if you'd prefer. Because if I wasn't.
I'll find it. Don't worry.
Because this is also about showing off the Worlds About Numbers book, because it is a nice looking book. It does, Lee. It does have magic. Specifically, so
it really has
I'm now
magic.
Going to explain. Now we haven't done a magic system. There's a couple of reasons for this. As we've said, we're probably going to use another system for it. And the minute you start trying to add your own rules and stuff, it doesn't work. How the magic works is that trees in this world project their own fields, so like kind of invisible layers, and in doing so, they change the environment around them. So magic users of a variety, because I kind of like the D&D style. I'm a cleric, I'm a wizard, I'm a sorcerer, but it's all basically the same thing. We just have different flavors. The way that they use their magic is they will carry a small piece of a tree. So like a wooden ring or a wand or a staff, because you've got to go with the classics for magic implements. And basically they can use that projects its own little fields that they can use. Obviously, it's not like I can rearrange the entire world. That's too powerful. And I think that's a nice power scale, like how much of a tree you have. And obviously, at a certain point, a human just can't carry a whole tree on them. So, as we said, sorry.
Interesting thing is there's also the potential for like giant world-changing magic by gathering together lots of magic users in the middle of a dense forest, basically.
Exactly. And why Anya is neutral and beloved in a political sense by the other nations is because their kind of magical field from their forests creates very rich soil, which accelerates the growth of trees, and trees are used as national boundaries. So a nation can determine its own borders by basically planting a row of trees. So when they go to war, they basically plant on the territory that they are annexing. And the reason I went with it, at least, is because I think that's kind of fun, but also because we had this idea that there's one nation who basically are like just a huge forest, like just huge, and it's very difficult for them to like have a completely controlled situation because the magic is just so potent there. But that's the basics of it. As I said, though, that's as far as it goes. I think we talked a bit about putting necromancy in at some point, because
there's definitely also necromancy, because that was one of the keywords we started with.
I think we agreed that necromancy is seen as like a cheap man's army, like kind of in the same way that mercenaries were back in the day. It's like, oh, I don't have soldiers, I'll just raise some dead bodies, but they're not going to last long.
And there's like, we also try to disconnect it from like in Dungeons and Dragons and things. Necromancy comes with that natural kind of it's evil, or whereas here it also like you can use it to talk to your loved ones who have passed or whatever, and that sort of thing, rather than just haha, I'm raising an army of the dead to plunder.
Definitely. It's the key thing that, at least when I warbuild, and having read some of Lewis's work, it's a lot of the same as well. We both prefer to do like magic as a part of people's lives rather than like this omnipotent force that you cannot fathom, just because, I don't know, like most people live their whole lives having a basic understanding of the world around them, and it's been like that for all of human history. So it's always weird to me in fantasy sense where like, I cannot comprehend this. It's like, well, if you can use it, you probably understand like the basics. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my that's my aspect of it. Anyway, yes. So I sidetracked us. I apologize. We were going to talk about its physical features, unless you wanted to.
I found the table.
Excellent. It's a D20, yes? Or okay.
Yeah. So this is that significant terrain features one again. So we can just pluck like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Terrain features and.
Do you want to go for 4 and quadratic? Like I know that's not how real life works, but I obviously, if we look at that and go, it's 2 in Congress, we can cut or add or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will roll.
Yeah, okay. The whole Worlds Without Numbers is a useful book for this sort of thing, but the whole idea was it's basically we're using it as a framework. And if you suddenly go, no, I want there to be this exact terrain feature that I've decided upon, sure, that's fine too.
Which we did kind of do, because like the mud from Anya is unique in a sense. So the first one is 18, which is Swamp, which I think is a good one to go. I think is a good one to go for, because I imagine that Anya was like, we'll seed some land. Give him the bit that's not that big swamp in it.
Yeah, but also like the soil in swampland isn't necessarily bad. In a lot of cases, it's high in broken down carbon and things like that.
Also, it's a defensible position, so perhaps the swamp is on Anya's side of the border, in the sense that like to cross into Anya from that area, you'd have to go through their swamp, if that makes sense. So perhaps that was also part of the deal. It's like, oh no, the border stops there, and you know why, people of Aris, because you've just had a revolution, and we support it. We support it, but we're just just keeping ourselves safe as well. I don't know. I mean, we can add more to it. I think perhaps the swamp is a good this is probably going to be the first time that you're going to hear us go like gamey, but obviously we're talking about I know. Yeah. I think the swamp is a good area if the GM is like, okay, I would like the players to encounter some monsters, because I don't think any players can be like, no, I want to clear several miles of swampland. Like, it's a nice. To me, I have a kind of a half mind when it comes to deterrence in games. On the one hand, I think that they are restrictive because the players should be able to do whatever they want to do. But on the other hand, I recognize that in games, especially if you're doing like an adventure module, you might put a feature that's not impassable, but is kind of politely saying to the players, you can try it, but you're not going to have a fun time at this current stage. So I like the idea that the swamp is like, oh, they can cross it and go into Anya and have lots of adventures, but like, it's not going to be fun for you because it's a swamp filled with monsters and pestilence and all kinds of stuff.
Seems fair.
Yeah. But again, it would not be like the GM if they say, can we go further into the swamp? They go, no, how dare you? Because then that's not.
Yeah, I mean, the swamp could potentially have things in it that are definitely worth exploring as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So.
That is also true. That's a very fair point. That's also fairly. I mean, the swamp sounds fun for me. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think the key thing though that I'm. Yeah, actually, I've kind of broken my own rule by saying that because that does come off a bit too mean. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Perhaps then the swamp could be. Every
episode, Nye just starts ragging on things. Oh.
I'm my best / worst devil's advocate. I'm very good at unpicking my own opinions, and yeah, I think I would have a change of heart there. But I like the swamp being its own challenge for anyone who is familiar with the swamps of the steppe, like those like the what are they called, the swamps in Russia. And because this is the best reference I can give, the ones that the Germans had a tough time getting through during Operation Barbarossa, what are they called? The something.
All of Western Russia.
No, there's a specific area. Fens is a term. They're a specific name. I'm gonna look up now because I'm.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Go look it up. I'll talk about swamps for a bit. So if we're dividing things into quadrants and one part of it's going to be this swamp, are we going to put that towards the border with Anya or towards sort of just behind the coastline, back inland?
Probably the one with Anya, and I imagine Anya being especially nervous. Maybe the swamp is a creation of a large river, and that's kind of Anya going, as I said, we'll give you the territory. There's nice stuff there, but our boundary between you is a natural,
a big river.
Exactly.
Hopefully, we'll keep you away.
Pripyat. It's the Pripyat marshes. Yeah. They're the ones I was thinking of. Sorry about that. I got fixated on knowing the name. But yes,
the Ukraine.
Yes, they are. They had a big issue trying to get through them. Now, what I was going to say, in terms of what could be encountered there, I imagine it's got your usual swamp monsters.
Swamp monsters. Otherwise known as the Thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll not get into specifics with what lives there and stuff. I think just general things, because that might change based on the system we use, depending, because some systems are you can make any kind of monster, and others are you might have some difficulties retrograding us for that. I was thinking in terms of inhabitants, the people there are probably the most onion. That makes it sound like onion, but we have agreed that this is a pretty silly world, so I guess it's not the worst thing. I imagine that settlers to this area, Druze, probably weren't wanting to live in the swamp, so probably most of the inhabitants from there are native inhabitants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not to say you couldn't be a settler whose family moved there. I'm just thinking that they've probably
yes. I hear they have layers though.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not expect you to make a Shrek reference. Of all things.
I'm sorry. When you said onions, it popped into my head.
That's fair enough. I didn't think. Okay, weird.
You thought I'd never seen Shrek, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just thought Lewis wouldn't watch Shrek. It's way too immature for him. You have much more a great deal of maturity. No, I know. No,
I feel like you definitely need to lower your opinion of me quite far.
Have you watched? Did you watch your wee one, or is this something you just?
No,
Oh, you're in free time. Okay, fair enough.
I saw it when it originally came out.
I saw it when it originally came out, though I think I was quite small.
Yeah, I was slightly less small.
I think for maybe flavor, this is an area where the people perhaps use like boats to get about. I know that is a common thing in marsh areas to use, like not like boats, but kind of small canoes.
Sort of those, sort of flat-bottomed, kind of shallow, well, not very deep, canoe kayak type things,
with the little
rafts,
exactly.
Yeah,
probably live houses on stilts, that kind of stuff. I don't want to. I don't know. I always feel bad because I feel like we fleshed out so much, and now I'm at here, and I'm just like, they are on rafts with stilted houses. That's good enough.
Yeah, but that's perfectly fine for the period.
I guess that's true.
Like, even if you take the real world equivalent, there would have still been plenty of places that, because a lot of that sort of thing only really changed halfway through the 1800s. So that's to true. That point, a lot of places were, if they weren't cities, and even the cities were still very like medieval structured with very narrow streets.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, if you go to Europe, obviously if you're European, you'll know what I'm talking about, but most European places are still pretty archaic in city design compared to, say, America. Well, the Americans.
It's basically one of those things where if you build something completely new in comparison to rebuilding something that already exists, because the Paris as we imagine it now, with the wide boulevards and that sort of thing, is very much a product of the 1850s and 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's
interesting. A result of all of the revolutions as well. Like, oh yes, these are very nice, pretty boulevards. It also just so happens that 2 cavalry regiments can ride abreast down them.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Okay. Do you think there's anything else we need to include? Do you have anything you want to add?
No, it seems alright for swamps. Do you want to add any kind of little hooks or things in there now, or off the top of your head?
I can't really think off the top of my head. Hooks are always a bit weird for me because I don't put too much stock in them. I mean, I don't
like either.
Fishing myself. Yeah, I don't actually eat much fish, to be honest. It's I don't know. Hooks to me are kind of just things that I'll conjure up to kind of encourage people to go on the adventure, and then they kind of take it from there. I learned through trial and error not to get too hung up, pun intended, on hooks or things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Anything else flavor-wise you'd like to add to this?
I think from if people wanted to start there, it's definitely the most remote in terms of how information gets there. But they're not, the people are just as educated, just as informed as anyone else. It's just they're so removed from so much of the politics that they're probably not too fussed. It's probably only if the settlers start messing with them that they're like, hey, whoa, no. But it's probably more of like hey, we've got our swamps, we know how to live here, We're happy with that. You know, so it's probably the most, like, least politically chart. If you were really just wanting to use this world as an old school trek like and kill and loot,
the most rural part of the most rural part.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So the next one that I rolled was 6, which, if I'm looking at the book, is grasslands. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would imagine the grasslands are probably the bit that they wanted out of the panhandle, I guess is what we're going to call it. Like because annexation's a bit strong, because it's not like they took it. They were given it because there was a kind of trade deal thing going on. For context, the reason why Anya gave Aris the land was to spite Seko, who had unleashed a horde of monsters. Yeah, the giant wasps.
And a bunch of other monsters.
They'd unleashed lots of monsters. They'd opened an almost literal Pandora's box. And in classic geopolitical sense, because they couldn't directly blame Seko, because Seko just did this incidentally to other goals that they had, they took the revenge by aiding their sworn enemy Aris by giving them land, which, as we've just been discussing, wasn't the greatest. So I'm thinking the grasslands was the bit that they were happiest to get, and like the rest of the land's going to be like, oh well, I guess we have this as well.
They don't have access to that entire rich soil infrastructure, but they do have enough of it to be like, this is a boon. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly, which is where the grasslands would come in. If I was thinking it, maybe, I don't know how because you're better with maps than me. What if, because I've got a panhandle stuck in my head. What if the panhandle goes a bit into Anya's territory, but it's surrounded by all sides by these environmental problems, but the small strip of lands that connects them is the grassland? And that's the bit of like, yay! And Anya's going, that's great you have that. If you try and fuck with us, we'll just pincer and take it back in no time at all. Because as we said, Anya's definitely going for that neutral, like, standing army thing where it's like, oh no, we're neutral. We don't get involved in politics. However, fuck with us. And we will not stop. We're ready. So yeah, I think the grasslands are
you could easily do that, like easily. You could definitely do that, have river boundaries around it, and then other things, hillland, sort of just bad broken terrain that I'll take it into account when eventually making maps, which I think I've promised funny. 5 times now.
It's all right. You've got a life, man. You've got stuff to do, so it's fine.
I just claim that on here.
I'm concerned then how you made such a realistic looking baby. Oh, that's all pretend. Yeah.
It's just the things you can do with CGI nowadays. I mean,
of course, yeah.
I have nothing better to do all week but plan my pretend life.
Yeah. You're really good at throwing your voice, so it sounds like you've got a wife, or a baby. We are, of course, all joking. Lewis is a wonderful father with a wonderful family.
All of those things. Well, definitely the latter.
Okay. Yes, I but don't worry about the map. It's fine. I think so I think the grassland is probably the part that they're trying to turn into arable land. I would assume Aris is, as we discussed, pastoral. It's not. Oh, sorry, it's arable. Oh, actually, did we discuss that? Is Aris a pastoral or arable economy? Because usually
are we gonna harken back to, or are we? This is a point where we could break entirely with reality and go to hell with
the one thing is the agricultural mechanics. Yeah. I don't know.
We got there in the end, didn't we? Welcome to part 5 of the agricultural laws and
correct me if
revolutionary France. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there aren't really any major, what's what I'm looking for? Major like nations or empires, whatever, that have been like solely pastoral in history. I think most have a strong arable backbone, don't they? For those who don't know, arable is crops, like growing wheat and grain and shit like that, and then pastoral is livestock.
I think because that's a thing that you get nowadays more.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Because
that is definitely a more modern thing because of the easy connection for importing your grains and breads and things like that. And exporting livestock in its various forms.
For those wondering why, sorry.
Yeah, they definitely need to have the mix internally because it depends how we're playing it. Like, realistically, you'd have to have that mix because you wouldn't be able to rely on continuous imports. And
the only historical example I can think of would be the Germanic states, specifically the German Empire and Germany itself, because they did import a lot of grain from other countries. However, I think that was instigated by a great swathe of things and was not limited simply to, and they were very arable. I think it's just more of like, we have a big modern population.
Yeah, well, that's also the thing, like, that's very dependent on the period you're like.
Exactly.
Because
for those
in the kind of Holy Roman Empire period, they had that as well, but the places they were importing it from were technically also part of the Holy Roman Empire.
Exactly.
It was sort of more of a inter-Germanic trading.
Well, like Northern Italy was a good bread basket because of
Northern Italy, all of the parts of the Austrian Empire because they had a lot more access to that sort of thing as well.
Exactly. The reason why, for those wondering, because something that seems obvious but a lot of people do forget, is that obviously animals themselves need feed, and it's quite heavy an industrial load to grow feed for your animals and food for your people. So a lot of nations, even today, will often import feed for their animals rather than do a double up and grow it and like collect the animals for harvest. Nowadays, of course, we've got like compact foods that you get in bags, but in the old days, like you would, like, for example, Russia imported a lot of grain for both human and livestock consumption. I would like to propose something then. Do we want to say that Aris pre-revolution did have an economy that was dependent on grain imports? Because we did talk about a famine.
Yeah, true.
So perhaps that was one of the consequences that the revolution really did not get a handle on quickly. They made too many enemies with those that could produce grain. And that... I think this is the part of the world building that overwhelms me. I get too stuck thinking about trade routes and markets and imports and exports. Oh, you and me both.
Yeah, we haven't even started on the legal implications.
I know.
Of
we get too hung up on the economics of it. We are massive nerds. I would say, yeah, that's probably the rationale for also wanting this panhandle. It's like, oh my god, we actually now have a big, like, probably, as we discussed, Anya is also, probably the... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I was just going to say, like, as we said, Anya's got great soil, so they're probably thinking, Jesus, like, we could actually start rebuilding a bit of our economy using this grain. Because that's often the problem that people have with grain imports, is that you end up becoming reliant on places that need stuff from you. So once you stop being able to produce that stuff, say like if you have a revolution, you end up not being able to produce. I think that's a good I think that's a good concept.
Yeah,
that they were a big importer. Yeah,
it also connects, because like maybe historically they weren't, and that connects nicely to our old friend David Montague.
Yes,
who said, hey,
Montague.
We have to go back to the old ways, and then maybe people started farming more as well, because that was one of the old ways. That is also
very true. Yeah, no, I like that. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah.
We're not going to get rid of him that easy, are we?
No, he has to. He's become our, like, every major franchise, which we are definitely not either of those words, major or franchise, has that one character, their mascot character. I cannot believe David Montague has become our mascot.
Out of what was essentially meant to be our upstart. Everyone should really hate this person.
But I think that I've been watching films. Shocker. And I was actually thinking that's a really interesting kind of like villain people create, is the villain that you're like, oh, this guy's kind of fun. And you're like, oh, but he's also really like bad on a subjective level, like actually bad to incompetent. And I kind of like that. Like, it's obviously it's very difficult to get, because you've got to get a charismatic but also very obviously not a good person. And I kind of like that with Montague. Like, that's probably how he attained and maintained power and still is alive himself, because he does give off this air of like, haha, I'm a complete fucking idiot. But then there's actually the kind of kernel of, but I also know this, and I'm very capable of...
I'm just going to set myself up after being booted out. I'll set myself up across the road, and maybe I'll worm my way back in somehow.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely ridiculous, but menacing. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good, because for those who don't know, panhandles are kind of weird because countries tend not to like them. It's never good for either party. So the person, obviously the country that's giving land is not happy that they've had to give up land. But equally, the country that's been given the land tends not to be super happy, because they usually have to do administration and things like that. And also they might want more of it. So in the case of this, I quite like the idea that like Anya is not happy to cede it, but they needed Aris's help, perhaps, if Aris is militaristic, maybe dealing with those giant wasps, and we're like, okay, here's some of the land. Also, it upsets, Sekko, who we've agreed are like, you!
And who just sitting there going, what do you mean there are monsters spewing out everywhere?
Yeah, well, we
don't know anything about that. Did we get the monster problem sorted yet?
A soldier comes in bloodied like, oh, sir, half the platoon's gone. I don't know why this man's in here. He's clearly confused. He must have been an accident. You should go lie down. I've just come from the
monster pit where the monsters are spewing out.
Oh, yeah, we've been battling them for years. Oh, here are these delegates. Should they know about the monsters that definitely are real?
Oh well, that's more people for the monster pit.
What else was I going to say? I definitely think.
Yeah.
And Aris is
trying to turn this grassland area into like farmland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. which is simultaneously not impossible, but not ideal. It's kind of a middle road where it's like, oh, okay, this is not forest. Like, we can do something with this, but also it's, I've just come from the monster. Is that going to be our tagline? I've just come from the monster.
If we ever do like a section on Secco, that'll just be Secco, I've just come from the monster.
How great would, like, I actually like that as a concept, that Secco, because I don't think we agree on how they did it exactly, but if they did just like open up like an ancient like
oops,
like a part of the earth went, oh, and this is comedic, but I like the idea that they all dropped their tools and went, we're out of here, run. Lots of wasps came out behind them.
Moved one rock and just monsters started spewing out of it. No, put it back. You put it back.
Definitely. What else?
It's also interesting because they have that balance between, okay, they now actually have access to some of this rich magical soil kind of situation in the grassland, but they also really kind of need to turn it into farmland.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah.
And it also is kind of like, if you were to look at the deal, it's probably more in favor for Anya than it is for them, because it's like, well, we're giving them soldiers, and the land they've given us is surrounded almost entirely by them, and that means that we owe them, like off the record, we technically owe them another favor. Well, not another favor, but I mean, like, we owe them until this problem is dealt with. Okay, I think that's a good. I think we've established the grasslands quite well. I imagine this is probably where this is the highest majority of settlers.
True.
I would also assume that this is probably this is also probably the least threat in terms of like monsters and, like, oh, there's a pack of wolves that, like, I don't think it's like that. However, this is probably the most politically minded, because these are obviously people that are most connected to the issues of and trials and tribulations of Aris. I would also assume this is probably where the main road in and out that crosses the original borders would be.
Yeah.
Because it's probably used to be like a way in and out. When we do towns and cities, this will probably be where the main settlement, like the main hub settlement is for the...
That is also, that makes a very nice starting position as well. So you have sort of the rural, backwatery kind of swampy bit. Or you could choose to start in the grasslands, which puts you kind of dead in the middle of this whole movement of people, but also the players are still very politically connected to everything going on, because they're in this crossroads that basically leads across the border to Anya as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was thinking, we did roll 4, and I have looked at the other 2, and I got 3 and 4, which was Blasted Lands and Canyon. I was thinking, do we maybe want to pick from the list or come up with our own suggestion? Because as I think maybe we were talking about, the other 2 sides are also probably Anya strongholds, like their geographical features that they've got a good foothold in. It's like, okay, well, if you cause trouble, like, we'll just sandwich you. So I'm thinking a river, perhaps. So like, there's a river that winds down and into the sea. So this is the point where, because again, coasts are fantastic boundaries, because it's like, if you're pushing an enemy towards the coast, they have to like move out of the way, otherwise they're going to be pushed into the sea.
I'm gonna expand it a little bit to river and coastline then.
Yes, thank you. Totally. I trust you way more with the topography stuff. Geography I like, but I would not say I'm the best at in terms of its validity.
I mean, mostly I just randomly put blotches on digital maps and go,
you
this
say
is
that,
a place now.
But you're very good at random blotches, because the maps look very nice. I do like them. As for that kind of community, I would say that that's probably our closest mix of like settlers, but also the native people that had lived there as well. This kind of half and half between, okay, you know, because I imagine that that's probably the port that's there by the coastal settlements are probably still very strongly attached to Onya, since I imagine trade would go through there, since as we established, Onya is the only one that trades with everybody, even while everyone else is like, no, Aris sucks. They're like, oh no, we'll still trade, hey. So I imagine that's probably also where they get the
Aris
soil.
coin is as good as everyone else's.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's 100%. That's probably also where they get the soil imports, because I imagine trying to send the soil, if they need to get more in, that would be a good place to start. So that probably makes it in another kind of interesting geographical thing. I don't know if it's true for every country, but I know in the case of like Britain, or at least in Scotland, you've kind of got like Glasgow and Edinburgh, where like Edinburgh is the capital, but Glasgow is the more like industrial and economic house, if you will. So I imagine that's probably the two major settlements in Druce. Is like you've got what is not the capital because it's its own, like it's incorporated within Aris, but you've got the big hub city for moving everything through, but then you've also got the actual money maker, which is the coastal settlement, which is like the proper like, oh yeah, no, this is if we had to choose our favorites, like we like the one that gives us lots of money and imports, and the other one is a facilitator, like, you know, not yin yang, but like two cities are needed to facilitate that. Perhaps city is a strong word, probably large town would be more appropriate.
Well, I've put it down as like an important port town, so
yeah
because it could be a city, but I mean, it doesn't need to be.
This is also a good way to set up like traditions and stuff. Did we agree that Aris is not very seafaring? I think we said that Seko is quite seafaring, but I don't know. Do you think Aris would be, or do you think it's more land based?
It depends on what we're imagining over the sea for them, because at the moment they have a lot of connections to the other than like Kuv, which is fairly far out. Well, not far out, but sort of like back between a couple of countries or away from them. They have a fairly decent connection to the surrounding countries. I mean, a lot of it is difficult-ish terrain to cross.
But they could walk
but they could, basically walk in there and go, hey, it's us. Other than Seko. So, yeah. On the other hand, do they have an extensive coastline? What are the other places in the world that we haven't talked about that they could be going to? Because we have this concept of these giant kind of transport sleeper ships that grow their own grain and stuff on the way.
That's true. The reason why I bring this up is because, to me at least, I think it would be an interesting dissection if you were sending players to that town, or they went there, is what I mean. You would have them, what's the word I'm looking for? You would have them like see, because I imagine, as we said, if this is more of a mixing point, a melting pot, if you will, of different ideas and cultures, perhaps that's a contention. It's like the new settlers are not as seafaring, but when you say it like that, perhaps they are. Perhaps the contention comes more from the fact that it's like, we do things differently at sea. Well, we do things differently at sea as well. And it's not, and again, it's not like a big, like, we're going to kill you over this. It's more like, oh, you guys are weirdos.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're the weirdos for us. Which, again,
kind
is
of
not
that having to get used to each other's idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, because it takes like several decades, like can sometimes take centuries before like an integration can occur. So I can imagine there's still contention where it's a bit like, oh, okay, cool, we do things differently here. It's like, well, we are still here, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't. I always feel like if I've got one place that's like, you fight monsters here, I don't need every place's conflicts and potential plot hooks to be, there are monsters for you to kill.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you need monsters to fight, but we don't have to. I actually quite like monsters to befriend. However, I know that not all players are into that. They get very tired of me like, and there's a nice big friendly griffin. Oh, you've murdered it. Oh, you've made the GM sad now. And there's this lovely kraken. Oh, you've murdered it. Well, the GM's sad again. I really gotta stop giving you guys monsters because you just seem to kill them. They're big and friendly. Don't you see?
Send them really friendly people. Then,
that didn't end well either.
If they murder them, you can just go, it is clear that you are the bad guys in this.
You're the villains. And when they all smile and go, yeah, you're like, murder hobos. Gotcha. Right, this is the campfire.
Well, yeah, we'll flip this campaign around.
Yeah, we'll just tweak it slightly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting, because I think that's also a nice, like, hey, you're dealing with a world which is very, yes, yay, monster friends, boo, killing monster friends. I don't know, I think that's just a nice, like, little bit of flavor text. I said that we don't want to get too bogged down in like, and this is the currency, and this is how you greet someone, because like that's for books, and even for books that can be a bit much.
That's also, like, if it comes up as a GM, you create it on the fly and go.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Because often players are gonna be that look like, is this gonna be fun to do? And you're like, I don't know, do you want it to be? And they're looking at you like, I would like it. Yeah, it's like, and yes, he does the 8-step greeting, and they're like, which is ultimately what all you want to do as a GM is just get that yes moment. And as I said, some people it's like, and now there's a griffin. Yes, I get to kill it. It's like, okay.
Just knowing your players.
Exactly. It's all about everyone having fun. So that leaves us with the other barrier.
Yeah.
Yes. Which, do you want to say forest? Or Jinx?
Forest is always a good one here.
Yeah, forest. Yeah, that's perhaps a nice little reminder of their own power. The onion. God, I regret so hard. Onions.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. That one I don't know. Would you say it makes sense to have
I'm resisting the urge for more Shrek jokes, so don't worry.
We can have. There'll be time for the Shrek memes. There'll be time. I'm kind of curious. Do you think this would be a very active area? I feel this would be a lot more. This would be the most frontiersy, wouldn't it? A wooded area would be the most like untamed kind of thing. I don't really like using that term because untamed implies that you want to tame nature, and it's like, no, just leave nature alone.
It is one of those areas that like it creates a contention. It's a border area, but because the onions basically, it's probably their forest because it was original, so it creates this field, and technically part of it is now owned by Aris, but that field is still there, and there's some overlap, and how do we deal with this
thing? Like a border where the border there is the most active in terms of magical energy and shifts like that. I was thinking this probably fewer regrets, more onions, but it looks like onions.
To be honest,
ions.
I'm really I really feel like making one of those pictures with settlers and instead of the revolutionary bit, just put underneath onions have layers.
I was going to say,
anyone who won't have seen the stream or watched any of this will have no idea what we're on about.
It's always a thing for me though, because I also think that you need to be able to poke fun at yourself. So I'm quite glad that I've that I gave it this silly name, and now I see how silly it is. I think this is also probably where the onions would perhaps keep troops at the border, and that's probably where the people of Aris also perhaps put their strongest concentration of soldiers, and there's that kind of... But again, I don't think it's like, hundreds of thousands of men, standing by. I think it's probably closer to there are, outposts that are a lot more frequent on the border, and whereas everywhere else it's like you maybe see 1 or 2 watchtowers to kind of pass a relay rather than, like guards, whereas for the forest it's like, oh no, there's actual like encampments and like soldiers train here and things like that.
Yeah. No, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah, and again, that sets up kind of like a nice area to go to. That's probably another like monstery risky kind of one.
Because you have the entire forest area, and then you have this political and magical contention, and the military are involved as well in a way. So yeah, that gives a lot of opportunity to.
It's the Lorax, but they're both saying we speak for the trees. No, we speak for the trees, motherfuckers. No, we speak for the trees.
We speak for the trees, but they're different trees than your trees.
Yeah,
we want to chop your trees down, but we want to grow more of our trees.
Yeah, perhaps that's a good way of looking at it. Perhaps the border is 2 different species of tree. Because how like different countries have their own like national. Perhaps that's the thing. Nations are determined by the tree that they chose.
I think
to
that
represent
was
them.
What we were implying as well. Yeah, because we talked about it for a bit, and then this idea that there are these sort of different trees.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think we'll go through every tree. I think we'll leave that for later. We can add that in as like a detail.
That is entirely, that'll be your department.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I know.
Name the different trees of the different regions.
Well, we'll go for real life trees because that's just easier. But yeah, I think I'll think of that a little bit later down the line. Like I'll probably, when we have a lull, I'll have we Google and we can assign it off screen. It's not, because it literally will just be me thinking of trees that are interesting. Because the one, when it comes to animals at least, and while I am one of the proponents of please stop calling them poisonous snakes because it annoys me, I do recognize why a lot of like D&D especially, but also a lot of games that ape D&D or take inspiration from, if you're being polite, the reason why they say wolf, bear, snake is because people know what they are. Even if it's a bit like, surely there are other things living in this ecosystem other than large predators and things that hurt you when they bite you. But I do recognize, because I have seen occasionally when people do go like really like granular, and even as someone who loves that kind of detail, especially when it's natural history, I do sit there and go, I don't think I'd want to play in this world. I want to read about it, but I don't want to implement this stuff. I think that's a good way of looking at, like, if we are gonna pick trees, but they will be trees everyone knows, like oak and pine and beech. Like, I'm not gonna do weird out there specific trees. It will just be things people know. Maybe I'll try and do some symbolism with it. I don't know. Exactly. Yeah. No Latin. No Latin. We talked about that, didn't we? Like, Latin is your go-to language for a lot of people because it sounds smart, but it's also not too difficult to research for because you just type in like water. Oh, aqua. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Do we want to do the settlements now? As a jumping off point?
Yep. I think sort of same kind of thing. Maybe we'll define 3 or 4 settlements.
Our tree said your trees are a bunch of jars. It's the trees from the Wizard of Oz. The ones that are like, oh god, that has to be something we do. Military operations were like, quickly men, disguise yourself, and they're all dressed up like
trees.
Quickly, everyone stop. Oh god. Yes.
The great tree skirmish. Yeah.
My
Twitch
is going a bit funny, so I can't
see
the thing. But no, like it's fine. Like I'm sure it's working perfectly fine because I'm seeing. Oh, there we go. Right. If you want to, I can see the world, the society stuff now and things like that.
Yeah, I am trying to find the settlement page.
That's okay.
There's one here.
And for those watching at home,
rural villages.
We're just making the settlements. We're not doing like the government and stuff because we've already established that presumably Aris would just bring in their own government and people and things like that. So it's just the actual physical like places.
Yeah.
Oh, is that them there? Okay, cool.
Well, this is rural villages.
Yeah. So we're gonna have 2 of these. Yeah.
Whatever you want, 2 or 3 or 4, or like maybe a couple or a few villages kind of thing, and then one bigger town like the port town or something like that, just to give it.
Do we want to go then 4 villages and then the port town for our?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So I should roll. Do you want me to roll 4? Yeah, actually, that's what we'll do. I'll roll 4 for the features, and one of those features will go to each village, because I feel like villages tends to be... Oh, I have just thought of something. The other advantage of having players here is that they will not have to deal with the weirdness that Montague has created with the villages in original
in the other places. Yeah,
because most people here...
these people appear to be living in the Bronze Age? Yeah, we went really far back. That's what Montague meant, right?
That's one of my favorite things for this, because I feel that is a really good world building thing to explain anachronisms. It's like, people they're basically just nerds, and they really find this like aspect of their history fascinating, and they're like, no, we want to emulate this.
Yeah. And Montague told us to.
That as well, yeah, I do, but I think it's a lot more, at least when it's a lot like this. I think maybe perhaps now there is a little bit of like, no, you're being forced to maintain this status quo and all that. We've been doing this for 20 years. Let's not, or 10, however many years. Okay, so I'm going to roll for, is it D12s? Sorry, I can't see the thing too well.
Have a look. Yeah, D12s.
D12s.
Do you want me to zoom in?
No, it's all right. It's okay. Because you can read it, I guess. Sorry, that's a really dismissive. Like, you read it for me, which is not what I meant as. Okay.
Yes, so these first... I'll read it for you.
Oh, no. No. Now if someone came in midway through stream, they'd be very confused. I'm very worried.
I feel like that's been half of our streams, don't worry.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm pretty sure there have been people come in, like, hear something, go, oh, no, this is not for me. Just leave it.
You know what? That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So the first one was a 12. Are we wanting
fancy
to do...
rolls.
Yes, I was going to say, do we want to just use... So if it's okay with you,
anything you want.
I was going to say, I don't really want to do the village involvements with adventures, because I have a feeling that's more adventure hooks. And as I said, I'm happy for someone to just come up with their own, because as I said, they're pretty straightforward. But I do like the rationale for the village's existence and the features of the village. So perhaps we just do, so the rationale and the features are lumped together. So for 12, its rationale for existence is it grew up around a lordly manor or estate. So I think that's a nice, like, at the center of this village is a large manor or estate, and they've kind of built around it in a kind of fashion.
Because they needed to be close by to read the texts for their lord.
Yeah.
So that he could roll upon his D12 dice.
I would legitimately think that'd be a fun world feature, that the nobility are completely illiterate, and it's the working people, like as a server, so you need to know how to read, because your noble might come over and go, "Read this for me, serf." Right, my lord. This is why you gave me the education. Yes, I'm too busy to learn. I have things to do.
Well, that is like, especially the whole court around Versailles kind of thing. The nobility that was sent there,
were the reedy.
There was no emphasis there on like, hey, maybe you should learn how to manage your estates that you own.
That's
it's like, no, we have bankers and accountants for that.
That's true, but then those people themselves were like the middle class, or what we would closely assume as the middle class. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm not wanting to make this a real thing in the world, largely because it would probably one of those things that you do once as a bit and then you'd never use because it's more of a joke rather than, although it would be quite funny if it's like every time a lord's like, I need a serf, even though they don't have serfdom or whatever.
Shuffles in with like, okay, I'll read it for you again.
He's got his rake on his back, like, it takes me to read again. I've got potatoes to farm, for goodness sake. Yeah, no, it's a bill of rights. Yeah, you sign there and you'll legalize this. Thank you, farmer. Right, okay, I'm gonna head back. So presuming,
but then they have to get a completely different one in to come and write stuff because they can't both know both things otherwise.
Well, they never say, because then they'd have to do double duty. So they're just like, I'll pretend I don't know how to write if you pretend you don't have to read.
I only do the reading.
You do the writing. You can write.
Fred does the.
Yeah, Fred knows, and Fred's like, Jim, I know for a fact you can write. I don't want to be in his company for that long. He's really obnoxious. He's throwing olives at them like, you, write for me.
Write faster.
So, features of the village.
Starting to get some real, like we did the history last time, but really understanding how the revolution got started.
No, definitely. That's the nobility. But as we said, the nobility, because we talked about this, it was originally in ye olde times a meritocracy, and that's how nobles came to power. But then people started going, well, if their dad did that, they have the potential, so we might as well keep them in power in case we need them. And then, like, 5 generations down, it's like, well, I mean, their great grandfather did that, they might do that. And obviously it's like, no, this was a flawed plan.
Grandfather was some kind of colonel or whatever, and we'll just naturally give them that position. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what you're doing?
I like that.
I know how to put the uniform on. Okay.
Not in the bottom buttons. Oh, they're a bit hard to do. Farmer.
Where's that serf that does the reading?
Where's the stuff that does the buttons?
Like, oh no, I don't know how to do buttons. You need
you need the button. You need the button farmer. Oh goodness. So the who runs it? An organization's envoy. So do we want to say, looking at that this village was the first one to be settled, and they built the manor. So this is probably. Is it governor? Is that the right term? Like, this is the guy, this is the person that's been sent.
I mean, it's a revolutionary state now, so it's probably going to be more of a republic or something similar, or some kind of. I don't know. It's not going to be a lord that they've put in charge now. It'll be some kind of attendant or something, or governor.
What is the word? Attendant, is that? I actually don't know. I'm not very familiar with.
What was it they used? They sent lots of like delegations just to go and check on things, and it was you're in charge of this now.
There's an interesting thing. Perhaps before it was given to Aris, it was their diplomatic center. So it was originally an envoy's manor, but then it just became the regional site. because they just shrugged and went, yeah, I mean, we have it. Yeah. We have the people that know how to run things. We're basically just increasing their pay and their job title, and that's it. Like, not much else is changing, which does happen. Like, a lot you'd be surprised how many times in history diplomatic situations have just changed and they've gone, Like, yeah.
Do you know how to run this place? Yeah, I've been doing it for a while. Carry on.
I watched a great... Sorry, I'm going to sidetrack very quickly. I watched a great video about how the Swedish monarchy that is currently on the throne came into being, which was one of Napoleon's... Yeah. And literally, do you know how he got the title? Like, the actual instigating thing?
No, I can't remember it. Go for it.
It's so insane. So basically, if you don't know, his name was Bernadotte. I don't know what his first name, Pierre, was it? I'm not too sure. Very French. He was one of Napoleon's marshals. And when the Swedish sent soldiers in one of the coalitions to stop France, he gave them very nice treatment and sent a lot of them back home. And they kind of, were like, oh my God, he was amazing. He was very diligent. Because you got to understand, at this point in history, like, honor and integrity and all these things were like catnip to soldiers. It was like, oh my God, he's a general that has, he's chivalrous to the... Not chivalrous, that's the wrong word. But like the when we think about like the First World War and people talk about like how, the pageantry of war was gone. This was the pageantry of war. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, when the Swedes sent a delegation to... Well, Swedes and Norway. No, it was just Sweden at that point, wasn't it? I don't know. When Sweden sent a delegation to Napoleon, basically saying, "Hey, do you want to help us with some stuff? Because we lost Finland to Russia, and all our monarchs are not really good at leading us. So could we get some help?" And Napoleon was like, "I'm a bit busy at the mo, and I'm not super interested." One of the delegates, his uncle, had been one of the soldiers and had spoken very fondly of him. And this is it. Nobody told him to do this. On his own volition, found Bernadotte and said, "Would you like to be king?" And he was like, yeah, that sounds nice. And when that guy came back to Sweden, they were like, "You did what? You just offered him the kingship? Why?" "Oh, I think he's kind of cool." Like, literally, it was just simply he was a fan of his and he thought, "I want to offer him, he'd be a cool king." But then the Swedish Parliament kind of discussed it and were like, "Oh, actually, he's a successful soldier. The people like him, and it worked out because exactly, and it worked out because he like immediately turned on Napoleon for the sake of Sweden, not because he had any like grievances with Napoleon, just simply because it's like, well, I'm the king now, I need to represent my country, and you are not going to help us, so it makes more sense to join the side that's going to beat you. But that's sorry, just to be clear how frivolous sometimes positions of power can be in history, that someone can literally just give it to you and you go, "Oh yeah, thanks." But
well, at some point they all got given it or took it. Otherwise they wouldn't have had it.
Is the word a consul? Because I know the Romans in the Republic used it.
Yeah,
so
we could use but like we could use that sort of system.
So long as it doesn't sound too ridiculous, I don't think anyone's gonna go, "They're using that term inaccurately." Like, it's actually a...
Really? I know if they say that, I will reference Anya to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Anya, take it up with the onions.
Do you know about Anya? Anya who? Anya, Know Your Business.
Yeah.
That was a terrible pun, but I'm going to stick with it. It is crazy, Bubble Reg. It's actually kind of insane. Some of the, like, a lot of history is just very bizarre. Even some of the really like memorable stuff that we learned about in school, like if you actually get down to the grain, it's like, this is quite ridiculous that it was able to escalate to this point over something so trivial.
That is a lot of things though, really.
Of course, history is
the amount of them that never ever needed to escalate that far.
Oh, 100%.
And really only required like one person not being a shit about it and going, no, I refuse.
There's a flip side.
Here's this minor thing.
But there is a flip side. There are nice things. For example, the printing press and the whole, well, nice is maybe a strong word because it's all about Catholicism, Protestantism, and that complete shit show. But my favorite thing about that with Martin Luther, was that he didn't want to start the Protestant Revolution, or that printing press is becoming obviously the incredibly influential thing that they became for that period of time and today. He just was like, I have some criticisms of the Catholic Church, and people were like, yeah, those guys have been lying to us. We should stop following them. He was like, whoa, hey, no, it's guys, we're getting a little bit of hand. Actually, you know what? Fuck them. We're going to form our own version of Christianity. Whoa, guys, calm down. And you know what? We're going to use these printing presses to spread the good word. Oh, God, this has escalated. Oh, geez, this has gone very far. I just had some grievances. I think they should share the Bible. Yeah, and we should probably start revolting. Oh, no, dear. That's the bad part. But the good part was the printing press was like, oh, my God, this is great. We can use this for all kinds of stuff. Thank you for showing us this, Martin. Why did you do this? Oh, I just had some critique.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to handwrite 5,000 pamphlets. So
exactly. So, looking back at the table, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to take the whole line because it just gives us like 4 bite-sized things we can build off of.
So the first one we've got is it grew up around Aris's envoy's manor.
Yep.
And is now basically the regional capital kind of thing of Druce, where the consul seat is.
Yes. The other 2 points it suggests for significant locals is an important artisan. So I'm thinking if we want to double up, we could have the consul themselves is quite a big artisan themselves, or we could have another person. It's entirely up to you. Up to you. I'm happy with either. Do you think it would be better to have another like figure for people to bump into rather than just the consul?
I mean, that doesn't like you could do that, but it's not necessary for it to be separate people because if they go there as GM, you're probably gonna come up with a bunch of NPCs they've run into on the way.
Perhaps from a visual perspective or like verbal, I'm describing what it looks like. This is the most like it's kind of an artistic architectural fusion between Onion and Aris, people of Aris. Actually, that's something we could do if you think Arisians is too on the nose. If there are a public, perhaps they refer to themselves as the people of Aris. It's like we are. Yeah. So the people of Aris and Onion kind of have a fusion there, and the consul's a big fan of it. He's like, no, I like this arts movement. It's and it's perhaps a unique thing that they wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. Because that's another thing I like about starting areas is they should feel unique and special because you maybe want to go back to them and I don't know. I like giving players something like that. I've been weirdly getting into art lately, like kind of how art is represented and stuff. So and then the final thing it says is nobles' quarrels have caused collateral damage. We've done so much about the political ups and downs. I assume the consul is. I assume because this was given to Aris before the revolution, like his whole or their or her or whatever, their whole thing is just a bit like, what do I do? Because you guys are having a revolution and we're still kind of nebulous. Are we a part of Aris? Are we not? Kind of like thing. Like we're trying to set this up and now there's revolution. Yeah. And perhaps this was more sheltered. I'm kind of inverting the pressing problem to actually a good thing. But maybe this was the most sheltered part of Aris. Like there was very little revolutionary action. People have gone with the new regime. The consul is like, oh, I'm a consul now, not the the people of Aris government promoted this guy who had no nobility, and he's like, oh, cool, I'm, but I'm not getting involved in any of that. We're not doing any revolting here because everyone is just, they're all settlers kind of thing. I think that works.
What's it called, this little town?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? Could we design? No. Could we design them all first, and then I'll give names in. Okay. So the next one is 9. So its rationale is a self-ruled home for demi-human residents, and I'm going to skip that one because we kind of established that's not really something we're doing.
Everyone is collectively known as humans.
Yeah. The next one we're going to do is 3, which is a spot where refugees of a calamity settled. I don't know about that one because I think
that would have to be like seriously historic and
and because we decided that the revolution itself. Yeah, no, I'm not liking that one. Oh, geez. Okay, 2. There we go. 2 is the last one that I rolled, so I'll re-roll one of them because we know that one of the towns is going to be the port anyway. So the reason it exists is because it's a port. So that's one of them.
Because there's water next to it.
Exactly. So we'll say the second one, the second village, not a town, is a minor quarry area. Perhaps they remove. That doesn't make much sense now that I said that out loud. Because where would they be mining? I guess like the forest. Oh, actually, it doesn't have to be a mine of stone. They could have been foresters. So it was a place where they collected the wood for turning into magical focuses or buildings and things like that. There we go. I eventually come to things. I just need to blab until my brain puts 2 and 2 together.
I was going to suggest peat, so there you go.
Now I'll go with that. Why did you say that? No, I really like that idea. No, we should. No, I really like that.
It's kind of a quarry because you dig it up.
Yeah. No, seriously, we should do that. That's why there's a town in the swamp area for peat.
Swamp area.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I really like that. So that is 2. So let's have a look.
Basically, I'm just remembering holidays I had as a child in Scotland. Like, hey, we have to go and dig up some peat now, otherwise it's going to be very cold tomorrow. Like, okay.
Okay, no, I really like that. Thank you for the suggestion. That's awesome.
I'm trying to remember where that was, or the name of the place.
It would have to be
along the west coast. It was right on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bay area. There was a little village near it, but then where the cottages were where we stayed, you had to park the car like 2 kilometers out and walk in on foot through. God damn it, can't remember. And it was fun because sometimes you'd like get up in the morning, open the door in the kitchen, and a sheep would walk in. So a sheep all around there, like they're like, oh, hey,
were you
doors open?
Were you staying in like a bothy? It's like a very small house like structure.
It was like a little cottage. Well, no, it was 2. There was an upstairs to it as well because that's where we slept.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really trying. I'm going to look it up now whilst you come up with all the important stuff.
I'll read the whole line. I'll read the whole line of things. So who runs it? I think it says a reeve picked by a lord. I think, again, I don't want to get too into like the politics. We'll just say that the consul, when the revolution happened, just picked an influential figure, but that connects well with the other 2 points. So basically, he picked, or they picked. I need to say they because I keep gendering the person, and that doesn't help because I feel like the GM should get to decide, how they want to represent it, how they want to represent people in the world. The significant
influential figure from the area, then.
Yes, because there's the other 2 points in the 2 line are actually quite interesting. The significant local is the worst local bully, and then its pressing problem is 2 families are in a long-running feud. So I think if we want to go with that, perhaps one of the families, they were 2 very well-established families, but and one of the heads of that family was the one promoted to the consul, or like not the consul, like the city, not the city, like the village mayor or something. Yeah. Another family is like steaming, but in good old feuding fashion, they both have equal claims that, you know, you would look at and go, yeah, no, you both have equal rights to this. It's just one was picked over other. And I'm thinking the local bully is the I was going to say sibling, but that perhaps isn't right. I was going to say like is a relative of one of the feuding families. Perhaps if we want to branch further, there are 2 bullies who both don't like each other, but if you were to go there, they're going to mess with you. And when I say bully, I do mean like an adult. It'd be a bit weird if it was like, it's a 10-year-old. It's like, oh, well, I mean, most of the people I play with are probably going to play adults themselves, so it doesn't really make sense for...
I don't know, like, it would be fun if they turn up in that town and a 10-year-old runs up to them, kicks them in the shins, runs away. And they're like, who the hell was that? Oh, that was the mayor. I think that would get too silly, though, when it's like, oh, no, the mayor's a 10-year-old. Because then that also kind of gets into, like, Succession, where it's like, yes, his father was the mayor. Isn't that kind of like a nobility kind of thing? No, it's a no.
Montague said it was okay. Okay. Right.
We got a letter from him that's hung out.
But yeah, I think that's like, again, it's low. It's not too crazy. It's something they could get interested in if they want to. I like that as an idea.
Gives access to the swamp area as well, sort of like a nice base. If you want to go deeper into the swamp and stuff. By the way, the place was called Applecross.
Okay. I think I've heard of that. Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm going to roll the D12 once more. Well, I'm going to roll it twice more, but one of them I'm just going to take the features of the village for the port, but this other one I'm rolling is for the rationale, because it's for our last village, if that's all right. Sure. So I'll roll 2.
Other things that were available in Applecross were, we saw otters, there were seals in the bay. There were otters basically on the walk in, because you had to cross like a couple of little streams and things. And they sort of panned out into the sea, and so the bit where it went out into the sea itself, they were sort of just sitting there smashing clams and eating them.
It's lovely
as otters are wont to do.
Exactly. It's the ottery thing to do. Okay.
And we also went fishing. I know you don't like it, but I'm not really like, great mackerel there.
I'm not like 100% opposed. Like, for example, I am a proponent of why am I talking about this? I'm not a proponent of like fish farming, because I see that as worse than fishing. It's personally
very, very bad for.
It is very bad for the environment,
the biodiversity of the fish themselves as well, and for just in general.
But the reason I bring it up is because like I just don't do it as a recreational sport. If someone said, "Do you want to go fishing?" It'd be the same as saying, "Do you want to go shooting?" It's like, no, I'm good. You go on ahead. I'm all right. Not for me. So I rolled a 8 and a 5. So the I was going to say the 5 for the not port, because 5 is a plant or animal grows very well here. So I'm thinking that is our like grasslands area kind of thing.
Basically everything grows well there because it's that super soil.
True, but like they have a speciality, which is why I was going to ask you what do you think a good speciality would be? What's one of your favorite vegetables or
plant-based.
No, seriously, I'm curious.
The problem is I really like vegetables, so like.
Oh, you can't. Are you seriously pulling that? I can't choose now. I can't choose between a potato or a carrot.
I mean, well, I wouldn't want to. I'd want to eat them both, but I don't know. Like, if I had to, I'll work backwards and go with like, what's my favorite type of soup, which is leek and potato. So it would have to be.
I mean, it is pretty on brand. It was in a place called Drus to be growing potatoes, I guess.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I suppose.
They grow. Oh, you got a leek.
Or leeks. Oh, yeah. Well, to right that like the leek is a very important part of the leek and potato soup.
Actually, do you want to do that? Do you want to move away from convention and go for leeks? Like it's a big
leeks
leek
are great.
farm. And I kind of like
eat
the idea
a lot of
people,
leeks. So.
Yeah, I think leeks are very useful. I also like the idea that people be like, yes, they're farmers of potatoes or wheat. No, leeks. Oh, yeah. You got a problem with that? No, it's a surprise. That's all.
No, yeah.
They obviously exist.
I really like leeks. Saute them, add them to woks, make leek and potato soup out of them. Oh, leeks.
Okay. Sorry. I'm just also trying to count because you've zoomed.
I know. I went with a boring vegetable. I'm sorry.
No. I love it. Seriously, I love the ideas that you come up with. They're fantastic. Oh boy,
trying to think otherwise what my favorite vegetable is, but like,
oh no, I've given you like a proper, existential crisis.
It's like no, I've never contemplated this before. Do I have a favorite vegetable? What if in the end all vegetables are the same thing?
I do love potatoes. I can't lie. I also like things like Brussels sprouts.
I do as well.
And broccoli. Anyway, I was thinking, so the one that they suggest for 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a cruel and feared bully, but I kind of don't want that for starting area. So having a look, I was thinking, having a look through all of them, they suggest a dreaded sorcerer, but I'm thinking perhaps we have to introduce them to the spirituality and religion. They have one of the random schmoes. So to remind everyone, the way faith is handled is there is no organized religion. There is organization in like, there's a certain number of gods, kind of, not really. Like they have basic tenets. Like if you were to take one person from Aris to another end of Aris, they can kind of have a conversation, but they will have different flavors, if you will, and there is, as I said, no organization. So there is no like, I am a bishop or a priest. It's just no, I'm the guy people trust.
Lay priests everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine it'd be run by one of these people. Just I'm just the person people trust for their spiritual matters, which is kind of how old societies used to work. It's like, you are a wise person. It's like, I just people.
We're literally going to call you the wise person.
I mean, I lived long enough, and people take my advice, and I think that's the other thing. Like, they're an empathetic person who, just like speaking to people. It's just like, I'm pretty cool. Yeah. And they obviously would be taught like the regions, which I also think be interesting. I think the beliefs in because we talked about it's a very animist faith, isn't it? I think we said.
Yeah.
And so I quite like the idea that there's kind of a fusion there between like the animism of Anya and the animism of Aris, and kind of trying to comprehend that.
If you say animism one more time, Sophinio will appear.
I know. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm hoping he appears.
You're hoping that.
Yeah, I've not spoken to him in ages. I miss him. But I like that idea, and I think that's probably the most. What's the word I'm looking for? The most like commune-esque, where it's a lot more like sellers, are really like, cool, man. It's fine. We all just have houses, but no one really owns them. We just all swap about. I like the one near the river. Oh, I like the one near the cliff. It's like, we just sometimes we switch. I don't know. I kind of like that kind of egalitarian. Hey, you want that fishing pole? I just have it. As long as you bring it back in one piece. Fuck it. It doesn't even have to be one piece. I can make a new one. Okay, now I'm thinking they're just careless. That example just makes them careless rather than like.
Whatever. Yeah, just take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice one. For the significant...
Also, I just want to add one more thing to the vegetable debate now that you've got me thinking about it. Like, I'm going to say something controversial here. My wife is going to be deeply upset. But one of the vegetables that I can honestly think of that I don't like is chicory.
Oh, okay. I haven't had much chicory before, so I
yeah, that's because you don't live in Belgium. So you're not forced into chicory season.
Ah, right.
Where they're like, oh yeah, wrap it in cheesy sauce and ham. Chicory for everyone. And it's so horrifically bitter.
I now want to have them be chicory farmers.
My wife is already going, it's delicious. So, I've started a great chicory war today.
I actually now want to change it from leeks to chicory just because you told me.
I'll let you.
Yeah, let's do it. I now want to do it. And if anyone ever asks, why is it chicory? I'll be like, just ask Lewis. Yeah.
Great, and if I'm the GM, great and terrible things are going to befall this region, though. Damn you, chicory people.
I've kind of done away with the rules now because I'm just looking at like significant locals now. The one that they did was charismatic priest. And I'm like, that's kind of. I'm thinking.
So we want sort of like a wise person, layman, priest, kind
as
of
the leader.
Religious.
This is for the third town. Third village, not the town which is the seaport. We're going to get to that in a minute. Sorry, just because when I do the names, it's going to be in that order, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for the significant person, do we want to say it has a half savage shepherd? But I don't want a half savage because that sounds very, very rude to the shepherd. I think we're just like, I'd like to have shepherds.
Unless they're like, oh no, there's a shepherd. You randomly meet them on the road, and they're like, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, this person seems nice. How are you doing? And then they bite you. Like, damn it was the half savage.
I was going to say, unless you're going for like a kind of 90s comment. Oh man, you're savage! But I don't think that's the intention.
No.
I don't really like.
It could be some kind of shepherd. It doesn't have to be a half savage one.
No, I don't.
I mean,
like
that
kind of characterization. It just
with the chicory because like normal people use it for animal feed.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's they're a shepherds. They have. It's not like this person is the sheep capital owner. It's just they have some sheep. Again, I kind of want to go with that kind of like commune, kind of relaxed. Like we have some sheep. They show up, we take their fur.
It could be, it could be sort of like a shepherd / local crafts person. I do like a thick woolly winter jumper. So as you may have noticed,
I had one yesterday, like a really thick one that made me look like a crofter. I was like,
I've decided my winter look is definitely like melancholic light housekeeper.
That's something. Have you seen The Lighthouse? Because that's what I looked like with the big fluffy, not fluffy, but like cotton.
Well, I've changed jumpers I think 3 times this weekend as I have a small child, baby, decided didn't like my jumpers as much as I liked them. Yeah, which was a shame. Yeah. One of them was my Aran sweater, and it got all sicked on. So I'm really sad.
And then when you he got sicked on, you were like, oh, and then you looked at like his little face, and he was like, oh, and you were like, oh, god damn it!
It's never like, it's mostly just like, I got sicked on. But first priority is, just cleaning the child up.
Exactly.
And then
it's always like thinking the movies where like then the baby grabs your nose or something, you're like, oh well, no, I can't stay by you, you're being adorable. Like it's literally impossible for me to do that.
He really always is. So
of course, yeah. So I'm thinking for the pressing problem, oh boy, all of these are not really something I'm wanting for our super chill. Yeah, no, all these are a lot more severe. I kind of don't want this to have a regional problem. I kind of just want this to be really chill and relaxed. Perhaps there's like, external threats to them, but I don't know. I kind of just want them to be like, yeah, no, we're pretty chill. We don't have any issues really. I imagine if there was going to be any, not so much threat, but obstacle, it's probably that the players are not going to be able to like go old school. Where are the missions? How much are you going to pay? Because I imagine these people are going to be like, nah, sit down, take a load off, relax. And they're like, no, we must do stuff. It's like, nah, just sit back, relax. So maybe that's the problem. If you go there, they're just going to be like, kick your shoes off, wiggle your toes in the fresh air. It's like, no, we got to go some places. It's fine.
And then they all leave with nice, warm, thick, and handcrafted woolly jumpers. They're like,
more chickeny than you could ever eat in a lifetime. Okay. So that leaves us with the port town. So I was thinking for the port town, one of the options it suggests is a council of elders, and I'm gonna make a kind of a tweak on that and say because it's the largest and most economically important, perhaps this is kind of a council of both the new settlers and the original inhabitants, and it's kind of a co-opted, like we both share responsibilities because we still, like, our parent nation still has huge economic ties here, so we can't just give you all the power, but we're now under your government system, so and I think there perhaps is not so much like tension, like, oh, we're gonna start fighting. It's more just like, oh my god, what is all this paperwork? It's like, well, this is how we do paperwork.
Bureaucracy, we did say.
Yeah, we did say, that's why I've been trying to bring it back. I'm trying to push it back in, some bureaucracy. As for the significant locals, I was thinking of having perhaps then we could have a criminal in rural hiding. So maybe a smuggler smuggling some of that precious soil, and is, perhaps is prepared to start a crime ring in the town. And there's another kind of thing, perhaps if you want to go for a more morally ambiguous, kind of players, they could become kind of inland sea pirates or something along those lines. So that's always an option. And as for the current pressing problem, I am thinking Oh, actually, I just saw one of the prompts. We could have added for the commune place a dangerous beast. I think that's just nice go-to, like, oh, there's a big monster. Sorry, I just saw that now and thought that's a nice kind of safe one, because they're like, we're super chill, but there's like a 4-headed wolf and it's eating all our sheep and us. Like, we're cool, but that's not cool, so we would like some help.
They don't even bring it up as the first thing when you start talking, though. After half an hour, and they're like, oh yeah, and there's this dangerous 4-headed wolf eating people and sheep in the area. Yeah. Maybe watch out for that. Otherwise, it's great.
It brings them the mood a little bit, yeah. So again, I'm going to tweak this slightly. So one of the ones I like here is an ambiguous land dispute is getting bloody. The tweak I'm going to make is that there is constant bureaucratic infighting, because it's like, what is this is not how we do things here. Well, this is how we do things now. And wait, why is this not working? Because you're using your fangled system. You need to use our fangled system. And that kind of, like, I don't want to do the joke that I do find quite tedious now when I see it in films and TV, where it's like the DMV, and you're like, I don't know. I think bureaucracy can be something we laugh about, but it doesn't have to be just, it takes a long time to do things. Like, they're probably effective, but it's probably like they're a bit like snidey with each other. It's like, oh, no, I can see you got those papers filed away quickly. It's like, oh, well, no, some of us want to get these imports done quickly today. Oh, no, it's fine. How did you do with the exports? Oh, don't even start, like that kind of thing. I don't know.
So basically working in an office.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. I always get a bit too, I don't know, it probably speaks more about my personality than anyone else, but I'm not the biggest fan of doing like really, like, I don't want to create hostile enemies that are just you kill, because I don't know, I think that's it's so limited in what you can do with it. And sometimes I do throw them in as like moot or cannon fodder, but like as a thing that you're going to interact with in a settlement, I kind of want it to be nuanced enough that a player can decide, I prefer this to that, and not having like a definitive, you did the good ending, you did the bad ending. Obviously, there's sometimes where it's like, no, you did side with the bad guys. They are the bad guys, and you picked their team. That's not okay. Well, it's not that it's okay, you know what I mean?
Also, you know, it's also fun sometimes to, like, it gives you the opportunity to not make the people the enemy. The people in question the enemy. It's
because
it is bad, but like that's the system that they're working with, and they're doing all these things, and the end result turns out to be oh no, that's not good, but no one was directly like doing something malicious.
Well, I think like fighting the system, not the people within the system. I think as well, though, that a big issue that I have is that I think, as we talked about with the necromancy, I'm not a big fan per se of settings, but also GMs. Well, I mean, I don't know about that.
You're like, I dabble.
But I mean, it always gets a bit frustrating to me when a morality is pushed onto the players. Like, no, you are going to, obviously, there's lines and veils. You don't cross something that somebody, including the GM, has said, I don't want to cover this. But it always frustrates me when, and I kind of guess I'm leaning more to settings, where sometimes the setting is dancing on the line between a theme and tone and outright saying, no, we think this is morally what you should be doing, kind of thing. And it's like, like there's themes and tones and ideas, and then there's just me saying, I don't want you to do that. And sometimes that's okay, and sometimes that's really not okay.
But like Bobble Ridge just said in the chat, you know, you want everyone to have a depth of realistic motivations, and then like that doesn't make them outright, haha, I am the evilest evil person. They're trying to achieve something, and their methods may not be great, but that, like, to them it might seem like, oh no, this is fine because of these reasons. But
as well, that's not to say you can't have something or someone that is unobjectively evil and must be stopped. It's just having every single stone you turn be they are unquestionably evil, they must be stopped, and vice versa. They are unquestionably good and must never be stopped. Is, in my opinion, morally speaking, you should only have one or two, or at most a couple on either side of the fence. A couple of, no, this person is like, they have a pretty iron tight moral code, or nope, you cannot reason with this person, they're the bad guy. And everything else should be a bit more
but even like they have this strong sense of moral identity is also a good one to throw in there, because depending on how things shift around them, that can make them good or bad. And like they could start off being good, but the world around them kind of just overtakes them to the point where they stay the same, but there's this shift that makes what they're doing now not good. And and also one of the tropes I really hate is like, this entire species of whatever is evil.
Oh yeah, no, I hate that.
Like,
I love that,
you know, the whole alignment thing, to be honest.
Oh yeah, no,
it's
totally.
not my biggest.
No, I have quite a
I tend to just chuck it out because all of these orcs are lawful evil or whatever.
Yeah,
no one cares. They all have motivations for what they're doing, and that's the deciding factor of like what are their actions and why are they doing it.
Yeah, it's a big no-no for me. And as I was always talking with a friend once, like, it's kind of ridiculous that basically and I'm using D&D because D&D is a very obvious target to make. It's not subtle that they have a group of sentient beings to represent each of their moral spheres, at least for evil and good. So like, for evil is the easiest to explain. So if you're going lawful evil, you've got devils. If you're going chaotic evil, if you're going chaotic evil, you've got demons. And if you've got neutral evil, you've got the Yugoloths, which just Yugoloths sounds like lawful evil, but apparently they're not. Basically, Yugoloth's whole thing, if you're not familiar, is they're demons that are basically mercenaries for hire. They do jobs to be paid money, and that makes them neutral. And I'm like, but aren't devils? Would that be lawful as well? I guess. I don't know. The logic is a bit flawed. But anyway, that's a very long way of saying that we think about morality in our games perhaps a bit too much. If you have listened to all of this and gone, wow, I just wanted to have an evil king for them to defeat, that's totally fine.
That's fine.
There's no issue with that. Just don't make every single person you want the NPCs to fight the most evilest, nastiest person ever, because it dilutes the point. And also, and I'm saying this to a certain subset of GMs that I've met, you're gonna if you use certain storytelling mechanisms as a means just to show someone is evil, don't, because it really, I think Lewis knows where I'm going with this. I'm not going to say the words, but it really, I'm thinking of some grognards I've met who trivialize very, very, sorry, it just, that brought up that, and I was reminded, I was like, oof, that did not like any of those things. Anyway, we're going to finish up the port city, because it needs a significant figure, is the only thing we're missing, because we talked about like did we actually add a significant figure? No, we did. It was a crime person. He's
smuggler in hiding, trying to start a crime ring in the town.
Yeah, that's it. So we need to do names, and then I'm going to get the generator
It's
up.
Norfolk, basically, or somewhere.
All our fans from Norfolk now hate us. All one of them. Not saying that Bubble Red from...
Yeah, like, that's basically... As long as we don't target Bubble Red, we're fine, I think.
Okay, right, I'm just going to quickly...
I won't tell you what the YouTube views are. There you go, we're fine. Not from Norfolk.
Yeah, not from Norfolk.
Anyway, I was only picking on Norfolk because my granddad's family's from there. So.
Never been, so I've no idea what it's like. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Very rural.
Are you pushing me? Right, I'm showing this on my camera because this is ridiculous, right? So it'll be reverse, right? I don't know if you can see that. The top one says Falkirk.
Falkirk.
This is a fantasy. That's a place in Scotland. Why is this bullshit?
That's basically it. Like, okay.
Wait, Norwich. Norwich is here as well.
There you go.
What is this?
Norwich. Oh, we should definitely name it Norwich.
Right. No, I've got to say this, right? So, Falkirk.
Norkirk.
Yeah, Ellie.
Falwich.
Falkirk, Ellie, Lando, Berkeley, Norwich, Ashbourne, Brendan, and then you've got City of Fire. And I'm like, I'm sorry, City of Fire is so just reading the fantasy book, not Norwich or Falkirk.
Wow. all the rest of those are like, oh yeah, that's just you looking at an atlas and then the city of fire.
Exactly.
That escalated.
Yeah, actually, you're right, Ulrich. I think most of them all are from the UK. I'm not going to say the place I got this from because that's not fair, but I'm very shocked. I'm going to redo this again. This is actually a bit better. Yeah, this is a bit better because it is just gobbledygook now. It's just 2 words they've slammed together. So we've got things like Faversham and Pink Earth and Everton. Well, Everton is
Everton's
like a place. Yeah,
Everton's a place in Manchester.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's Faversham. Okay, I'm not using this fucking thing. Okay, no, we're not using this name generator. What is this I want this clipped. I'm not going to expose anyone, but this is bullshit. They're just using towns in Britain. They're like, it's a fantasy.
What is it? You don't, yeah, I was just going to say, where's the website from?
I believe it may be an American one.
Yeah, because that's like, no one's going to know any of these places.
What I'll do is, I'm going to send you the link.
Yeah, and I will laugh.
And you can see it. Yeah. There is actually a pretty good place. I've used this before. I just want to copy the link. Well, we might just come up with our own names then.
I mean, we have plenty of names.
Yeah,
Falkirk and Everton.
I kind of don't want to just use like names, but you know what? Let's just pick some Scottish towns, right? And we'll just take some of the letters off them. And if anyone gets upset, I'll just say that's my fault. We won't do that.
Yeah.
Well, it feels bad now because we did that to Paris. Poor Paris.
Yeah. There you go. So it's all right when it's Paris.
Yeah. No, we won't do that then.
To be honest, though, they took their name from Paris. So.
Okay.
You know, they don't really get to own it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we'll use this. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I find like sometimes I have moments where I can name a bunch of stuff. Then other times I use the same technique as Nye. As you'll find out if you read Rascals, in which I just named a place Braxels, which is just Brussels with one letter change.
I like but you took inspiration from your true mentor, me. No, if anything. Okay, so we're just going to cheat and we're just going to take part of we're just going to break up the conjugated words. I'm probably using that term wrong. So we'll go for favor, Faver. We'll go for pen, but it's spelled Paen. That's for the second place. So favor for the first, which is the consulate place. Pen, Paen, for the second place, which is it's all right. The second place, which is not the commune, it's the
quarry
mine.
Yeah,
the peat place. Marn for the commune, Marn.
Yep.
And for the port city town, we'll go for Penk, Penk. Or kicking.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Are you want to say more world?
Pen, Marn, and Pink.
Yes. You want to say more world building, or do you want to talk about systems?
That's enough world building for now. Yeah.
Do you want to do systems for like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't
just have a bit of a. No, we'll just have a bit. I think we've got what we need now.
Yeah.
We'll have a bit of a chat about systems that we could potentially use for it,
stop.
And then
the latest we'll probably go to is 11 my time and 12 your time. Yeah, and then we'll have to stop because we both need to get to bed. But
no, I never need to get to bed. Don't worry. I do need to. I just don't. Yeah. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yep. That is interesting, Bubbereg, the root names of things as well, using Norse and such. I don't know. I don't.
But you can end up with places called Hill.
That is very true. Yeah, very, very true. So, I will lay out my criteria, and then we can kind of toss around stuff that has been suggested, and if anyone in the chat has any ideas they would like to suggest. So, I only have 2, I guess a third, but it's not that pressing, things that I would need from this system for it to work for this world. And obviously, Lewis, you'll have your own things. The primary one, I really don't want it to be strongly attached to its own setting, because I just feel it's a bit of a waste to the hard work of the creator of the system if they tied it strongly to that world, and then we're just going, we'll take the system but not the world. I don't know, it just if you've bought a book, so the example some people gave was Conan, and to be clear, I would love to play Conan, but I just don't think that's fair, because they've put the effort to make that world exist, to build off the Conan franchise thing. So I just think it's a bit of a waste.
It was like I said earlier when we were talking about it, that's basically the 2D20 system that they use for Star Trek Adventures, Dune, Conan.
Exactly.
What else is there's a lot of thingy. Achtung Cthulhu now, the new version. It just also, I don't know, like personally, what I know of and have played of the 2D20 system, if I put that next to what we've made here, it just doesn't feel like it really gels.
That's fair. I trust you more with, I trust you when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I'm not good with this kind of, no, seriously, I'm not good with systems. Like I just like, The second big one is accessibility. Some people, very lovely people, suggested things like GURPS. And GURPS is totally, from a completely logical perspective, GURPS is the perfect system, because it's incredibly versatile. However, it is very, very crunchy, and I don't really want to use a system that I'm going to have to spend a lot of time with people learning and relearning for me, because I played it like a little bit, and I'm way too young to have played it when it first came out. So I played it like because I found some. And that's just a problem for me. If we were going to go, because we have talked a little bit, not extensively, about, if we're going to, when we're going to play it and stuff, I don't want people to feel pressured to like learning a system that perhaps is not really going to.
Yeah. I mean, I am a big fan of very simple systems. That's why I like any of the stuff I make myself. Usually what it comes down to is like maybe 4 dice or something, and then just rolling, and you quite easily come to a solution for whatever situation you're in. Because in the end you can end up having to learn like 500 systems, and we all have lives and don't necessarily have time for that, and it doesn't, like, having a really detailed system with lots of options doesn't necessarily offer you more than a broader system where you can just kind of wing it a bit more.
Exactly, yeah. I think as well, to be clear, the suggestions given were not bad. I thought they were all lovely. It's just, it really is just, I looked at that and was like, it's a lot more work than I think is what we're going for.
Yeah,
because
definitely like GURPS is...
Oh yeah, GURPS is hardcore. Like, you need to properly knuckle down and learn how to do that.
Because that was what I was saying as well. I was also briefly thinking of like a D100 system, like basic roleplay or something, like RuneQuest, Call of Cthulhu, or the only D100 system like Warhammer Fantasy. But that's also, in this case, it feels kind of too crunchy as well, I think. Like, in the characters feel too crunchy, you know, like they're a little bit too exposed for what we're trying to create here.
I think as well, for us at least, we're kind of also wanting to pick a system that is not too, if we're being frank, I don't think we're wanting to go for like 5th edition D&D. We do kind of want to pick a system that's perhaps not underseen, but maybe not like
like
not
there's certain
broad
aspects of that idea that I like I kind of want the players to feel like they have the potential to be heroes and stuff, and they're not just gonna get, you know, that they're not on a level playing field with everyone else, and the first time they meet a big rat or something, one of them ends up kicking the bucket or something. So that sort of super heroism idea of 5th edition, but maybe toned back a bit, that I like, but just the 5th edition in general I don't think fits it either. So but the third thing, which is why I brought up 5th edition, because it does have one benefit, is I do ideally want a versatile magic system, which is why I said it's kind of a third point, because we might just get a group of players who are like, nope, do not want to engage with magic at all. I just want to be thieves, rogues, fighters, barbarians. Like, I don't want to do magic stuff, which is fine. But the reason I bring that up is because the one benefit that D&D has brought, especially 5th edition, is they have been very lackadaisical when it comes to what the magic is, which is why I said, like, it's the one plus that I do credit it to. It's the most straightforward of, like, you do magic, we have justifications if you want them, but you're a wizard, you read a book, you're a sorcerer, one of your ancestors got freaky with something else, you're a warlock, you made a deal with someone. Like, the actual spells themselves are not as important as the story crafting that the player has done. But I say all this because I'd like something that has druids, because they are such a big part of our world. I think they are definitely like druids themselves are also just a question of creating a framework that is essentially a druid within whatever system we present,
which is why it might be a bit weird. I don't think we're really planning to use the world without numbers system itself, and it's largely because, at least to me, because like the class stuff just doesn't really seem to gel with the world we've made, particularly the magic stuff, especially. I kind of look at that and go,
I feel like this is not to, you know, rib on Kevin Crawford and his wonderful book and system, but I feel like there's this mash as well of kind of old school stats in a way.
Yeah.
Where you have very low hit points and stuff like that, but also a more new school style of you're creating quite an elaborate character.
Yeah, which
but
doesn't,
that doesn't
gel well.
Yeah, that doesn't mix either, because like, I spent an hour making this character and oh no, my 2 hit point wizard is dead. Oh dear.
For context,
start working on a new one.
The other stuff we've been suggested is, and I have the list here, WOIN, which I'm not very familiar with. Neither of us are we? It's an anagram, I presume, for something, but somebody kept suggesting it. I was like, okay, cool.
No, I've heard of it, but I think I'm struggling to remember the anagram.
I think it's similar. I believe it's similar to GURPS in the sense that it's kind of you can turn this into any kind of system you want it kind of thing. Somebody suggested Forbidden Lands. The only reason I was hesitant with that, the only reason I was hesitant with Forbidden Lands is I don't know much about it. So I don't know if it is very attached to its world or not.
One is the system they use for 2000 AD for the Judge Dredd RPG, apparently.
Okay, interesting. Well, we might have a look at that then. The other one was Pathfinder. but to me, Pathfinder kind of falls into the same camp as D&D because it's like it's very well known. Also, another reason why we don't want to do D&D and Pathfinder is because I don't want to cordon off certain classes.
Yeah.
But like wizards and stuff don't really work in this world. I guess a wizard could be they gain their magic from the wood pulp of the paper. There we go. I guess that's wow. I really need to stop. Yeah. And I guess a bard would be someone who beats song music off the.
They have a wooden instrument.
Yeah, there you go. So, a wooden instrument. A warlock could make a pact with one of the animist spirits.
A tree. Like just find a really old tree and be like, hey, want to make a pact?
Yeah. Clerics just talk to more powerful spirits, like more what we would identify as gods, and then sorcerers are just the same, because I don't know.
Bobble Reg suggested Genesis, the system, but to be honest, I am also very unfamiliar with the system. So I might have a chat with Bubble Reg afterwards about it.
A peek behind the curtain, we have also not picked who we're wanting to ask. I don't even think we've decided who's going to GM, because...
Yeah, no, we
haven't decided anything.
We needed a world first.
I know, we're probably literally, once this ends, we're probably going to be like, okay, so what are we going to do?
Yeah, so now we need people...
yes, and we need to decide. And I imagine it would be on Sundays, wouldn't it? This time.
Probably. Yeah. Well, we can see in that regard, like scheduling is just
Okay.
Have to be something that fits us all. Were there any other system suggestions?
Oh, unless chat's going. No, I don't think so. I think I've said all of them. As I said, we were kind of talking over each other for that, but I did say Forbidden Lands. But I'm not confident with that.
Yeah, that is a fairly, but that's like another one of those systems that is fairly painful on the characters as well.
Okay, interesting. I'm not familiar with it. But I think we would be happy to take lots of suggestions. There was someone did suggest Dungeon World, but I am not going with that for moral reasons, because one of the creators on that. We're just not going to touch that.
Yeah.
And that's like on a private level as well. I don't touch that game like at all because of all that stuff. So yes, don't suggest that one if anyone wants to.
Yeah,
because that's going to be hard.
I mean, in that sort of OSR style game, then I'd be tempted to run it using old school essentials, which is just very old D&D and very flexible, but you run into that same thing again where either we'd have to tack it in a way to ramp up that feeling of like the characters can influence the world in some way without dying horrifically every 5 minutes.
Exactly.
I mean, there is a potential for, if we don't really find anything, we can find something close enough that we can hack it ourselves and twist it into something that suits. But
I was going to say, worst comes to worst, we probably will just do one of the D&Ds or Pathfinder.
One of the various editions.
Because I was about to say, because that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're thinking about this because we have the freedom to do so, and we have no obligation to go with a particular system because we've had the luxury of making this world. But I also, like, we're both pretty savvy, we're familiar with these systems. We want to ask people because it's nice to get perspectives. Like, I had never heard of the Judge Dredd system at all, so I was like, I didn't know that was its own system that you could hack. But yes, I think that's everything, unless you have anything else you want.
If I'd actually gotten around to finishing the one I was working on, we could have used that, I suppose. But
that's true. No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Seriously, don't.
No,
I can't think.
System wise, I mean, we'll mull it over talk to
of
people.
Course.
We'll have to gather an intrepid band of maybe revolutionaries, maybe just people who want to walk around in
gawk
Aris, gawk at everything. Oh, that's that shepherd they kept talking about, things like that.
No, it would be fun. I think that's finished. Unless, as I said, you have anything you want to add.
So basically, from here on out, there probably won't be any more world building streams for Aris. Maybe if we need anything specific, but instead we'll try and look into getting a group of players together to actually go to Aris and see what it's like when we have to improvise a bunch of stuff on the fly. And I imagine one of us will be GMing.
I don't know. I mean, we could get the reason why I'm a bit hesitant to get someone outside of us is partially because I feel that's kind of pushing the responsibility on
like, we else. Made this, now you run it.
And also because we did make it, and I don't know, it just feels a bit like nobody wants to be a forever GM, and we shouldn't force somebody to be one, if that makes sense, because we would obviously ask someone who we like GMing for us. And it is a little bit like when you like someone's cooking and you're like, cook again. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
I do that all the time. Yeah,
exactly. And I am not a good GM, so if I do it, it definitely will be I'm cooking for other people. And it's like, oh, you really didn't have to. Oh,
I can't believe that for one moment.
You haven't seen me do it yet, but okay. Do we want to do end stuff? Okay.
I was just going to say, so anything you want to add, Nye, or throw out there?
Well, I'll throw out my usual two things. But now it's one thing. So you can find me on Twitter at ersatz_expert, all one word, at ersatz, ERSATZ, and then expert, spelled as you'd expect. However, as I've said, I have a YouTube channel, and actually now that's also become a kind of like a link dumping place, so you can find all the other YouTube channels I'm on with, and you can find So Much Game. I've got the So Much Game YouTube channel on my channel now, like as a friends of the channel thing, and other people so you can find stuff that I'm on, but also stuff that I just really like the people for. So yeah, like there was I watched a stream from Saint Stella. It's a D&D 5th edition, but it's really good. I like the characters, and it's just really lovely. So I have them there as well. So it's because that's the power you have when you're on your own YouTube channel. You can put people that you like on there. And be like, and there's also Garblag and the Enclaves and Embassies thing that I'm a part of. All kinds of stuff. So there's lots of fun stuff. Lots of TTRPG stuff, and there's also my history podcast stuff, and also, but we're gonna keep this one secret.
Tried to shoehorn that in at the end so that no one would hear it. Oh, and also my history podcast stuff. Definitely check out Nye's history podcast because it's pretty damn cool.
Well, I was gonna say we have been talking a little bit about another thing, but we have definitely not worked out any of the logistics yet.
We have some serious logistic work to do in
every single regard. So
Bubble Reg, you'll probably be interested in this secret project.
Yes.
As you keep asking us to do it.
Yes. But what's the word I'm looking for? That is definitely further down the line.
We need a little bit of time for that.
If I was going to say this to you, but I might as well say this on the stream. If we've not nailed something down by like November, we'll probably wait until like New Year and then into 2022. Like I don't want to start something like in December when we've all got stressful shit to get done and things like that. So yeah, I was thinking that's probably, but you'll see it eventually. We'll be obviously doing this and we're still gonna be doing some of the battle stuff, aren't we? Like, we talked about doing Battle of Stalingrad at one point.
Yes.
Yep. So I'll be down for that.
I think I threw out a few battles that I was like, oh, and this one. Yes, and this one.
No, I was.
That was just me being overly enthusiastic. Like, oh, that's a really interesting battle.
You did catch my bluff though, because I was like, "Oh, Stalingrad." You're like, "Well, these other ones now." It's like, I'm sorry, my eyes just gravitated towards that.
Like, that's fine. Yeah, it's also a really good game. So, it's part of the series. So the one we'd be playing is 42 Stalingrad.
Actually,
and that's part.
Oh, sorry.
It's part of a series. Like, I also have by the same maker 43 Ukraine, and they also did a 44 Holland. So Arnhem, basically, and it's a really fun system. Kind of operational level as well.
The thing I was going to say was I'm listening to the World War II week by week, and they're and they're in 1942, and they're at as you know, they're in Stalingrad. It's currently ongoing, and it's obviously very tragic to listen to, but it's very interesting because it feels very fun to listen to. Anyway, that's everything I think we have to say. Do you have anything you want to plug? Because it is your Twitch. I was so bad plugging stuff on Twitch, right?
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Nye.
I don't.
My lord and master.
Oh, well, see, now you're just guilt tripping me.
It seems to be my way. Now, that is actually a thing. Yeah, I'm on Garblag this week.
Oh,
Thursday.
What were you on Garblag?
Star Trek Adventures.
Oh shit, you are. Yes.
Where I am the Andorian commander, Fassvennen, who somehow ended up in charge of the ship because the captain just went off to a bunch of meetings and was like, "Yeah, you do the thing with the rest of the senior command crew. You'll all be fine. I'm gonna go to these meetings. Bye." Like, oh. Is that how it works? Couldn't you do a Zoom call or something, like, in case we need you?
Awesome. Then definitely check that out.
And then on Saturday evening, which is a rarity for me, playing the One Ring.
Oh shit! You streaming that, or are you oh my god! Really?
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Oh shit, you were drumming up people to do that.
Yeah, I was.
Sorry, I did see it. I did.
It's also it's a difficult day for a lot of people as well. So I kind of that's why I wanted to throw it out there, see if there were people available.
No, totally, definitely. Please, people, give it a shot, because it sounds like a lot of fun. I can't commit Saturdays is my problem.
That's also like what you were talking about with Conan. This is definitely one of those systems that you don't want to play something else with it because it's really made for Lord of the Rings.
For that, exactly. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
And then I think come Sunday next week we'll find something else to do.
Exactly. Yeah,
might be the Battle of Stalingrad. It might need to shift that a week. I don't know. We'll see.
That's okay. Well, we're
fine. We'll find something. I just sit here drawing maps for 2 hours.
I am actually.
Is that where favor is? Is that where favor is?
I did see the 4 maps for October thing on Twitter, which I was going to do. But it's literally just draw 4 maps, and they could be on a post-it note. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I'm going to be putting that on my Twitter for fun because I'm bored. But yes. I think that's everything.
Mostly how I end up doing new things.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
I'm bored. What's a thing I've never done before?
Exactly.
Anyway, thank you, Nye, for joining me. and for creating this fantastically interesting world that we will play at some point.
Yes,
and
that's definitely a hope of mine.
Yeah, thank you everyone who joined us in chat. We'll be back sometime in the future. We'll let you know when. And I think, if anything else you need to release into the world.
No, I think I've covered everything to the best of my ability. Yep.
No proclamations or something about the constitution of the revolutionary state of Aris or something.
No. If anything else comes up, it will be it will not be streamed. We'll just cover it.
Yeah.
Off screen. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Nye. And good night. And as usual, stay safe. Stay gaming. Bye.